So this is the latest iteration of my fan system for costume helmets. If you've seen the previous videos, which I recommend viewing before this or even after this, it goes over this all this stuff and where this stuff comes from. So essentially what it consists of is a fan, a battery that supplies the fan, and this is a 5-volt fan. There's a 3.7 volt battery, and this little system here is a voltage booster. So it's a voltage booster circuit board, and which I modified and put some pins on to do output. And then I've also got the input that wires to the board. So I've got my 3.7 volt battery that goes into it and the 5 volt that goes out. Okay, so we've been through that before in the previous videos. Here's the newest update. A built-in or an inline switch. So if you saw my Darth Vader helmet mod, I did this on one of the lines. I did an in-between line between this and the battery, and did it on that line. But you know, I'm trying to cut the slack here, so I put it in these that I'd already made. So what's it consist of? So here are the switches, so you can see what they come out of the box looking like. So I'll have a link in the description. This is a package that I got that had a bunch of these and a bunch of these. I don't know if it's like 20 of each or something like that. And it was only like $5, so it's great. Anyway, larger ones where the pins come out the bottom, and then there's these, which I was really interested in to begin with, where they come out the side, so you can flat mount it and then have your wires come into the side, as opposed to having to worry about what to do with this. But so I've got some that I got the Vader helmet I did like this. These latest ones I did like this because I figure I'm just going to have it flat and sitting like this, so I can just toggle it like this rather than being up. It made sense for the Vader helmet, but I think it'll work on other stuff fine with this version. So anyway, you see these look a little different. So this is how they start. This is how they come out of the box. They've got 3 pins, and then they've got these kind of side ground that just go around the casing. So if you look at these, both of these, what I did was I broke the ground pins off. I'm not using those. And then I broke one of the, oops, I'm slipping off the screen. Broke one of the pins off, because all I'm doing is a red line. So we're taking these lines here, and the black line is not broken. The black line is all the way through. The red line gets cut, and then you just shave a little off, and that's what you put on here. So it doesn't matter which side. So wherever your pins are, when the slider is in that position, then they're connected. When it's over here, it's off. Otherwise, it would just power something else if you had it coming off this, but I'm not interested in power anything else. I just want an on-off switch. So thus why I broke those things off, to not have to deal with them. So that's what these are. What I did to make the soldering a little easier, I've got one of these little things from Micromark. It's essentially an etcher, so you can carve your name into stuff or whatever. Frankly, it's not strong enough for that purpose. I've had other ones before that were actually plug-ins that are much better. But anyway, it's good enough to do what I need to do. It's just the motor kind of gives out with any pressure. But so what I do to prep these is, after I break those pins off, to make the solder, make sure the solder sticks and doesn't slide off, what I do is I just kind of etch these, just as such. You get the point. So I just kind of do it all around and make sure it's all scratched up, and plenty of spaces for a surface area and grittiness to grab onto. So aside from that, what I do is I cut my wire, I cut my red wire, and then I strip just like a millimeter or 2. I guess it's maybe 2 millimeters on it. I tin it, I think is what it's called, which is basically just put a little bit of solder on that copper that's coming out, just to get it kind of stuck together, and then it also becomes that future adhesive that I'm going to need. And then I tin this, which is essentially just I slap a little solder on there, a fresh solder right after I get it in the flux, and then put it in the solder, rub it on there, and then it sticks, and then it makes it a lot easier when I put the wire on there to just kind of take a glob of solder and just touch it on there and slide it in the right direction, and it welds it on, and it's good. So anyway, I'm not going to show you the soldering part, but I'll show you the next bit. So, you know, this is one that's complete, right? So that gives you an idea what it's going to look like when it's done. But here it is after I've just soldered. So you can see what I've got going on here, and what I've done is also prepped by putting this heat shrink on here. So then what I do is just, you know, push the heat shrink up, make sure these are covered up, and then what I've got is, you could use a hair dryer, but if you don't have one, but I've got one of those little I don't know, it's just a heat blower. It's part of my soldering unit kit, but whatever. Anyway, so it blows hot air, and then it yeah, gets this to shrink up. Or you could use a lighter. I used to always use a lighter, but anyway, so then what I do is I try and get the side on, and if I can, get it over the top, and then get it to hold together. And then after that, I put this over the top. So this is just a larger version of heat shrink, and I just did a little notch out of it, and that becomes the hole for this. And in the end, you get this. So that's that, and I'll just to show you that it works. Here it is. So this is my 5-volt out, and I labeled mine. I try and give myself a good user experience, because sometimes I forget how I built these things. So I've got labels on there. I've got my red marked, so red to red, 5-volt out, which is to my fan. Now I've got my 3.7 volt in, coming from my battery. And again, I should get about 6 hours out of these 850 milliamp hour batteries on these 1.3 amp or milliamp fans. I think that's what it is. 0.13. I'm sorry. Anyway, so plug it in. It's already going because I guess I got the switch on. All right, so easy peasy. That's that. So now it just gave you, if you saw the Darth Vader one, I mentioned the switch. I didn't really go into any details. This is the details about the switch. Hopefully it helped out. If it did, give it a thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe. Take care. I'm out.